It looks like we have a nice diverse audience, and it's great to see some familiar faces again. For those of you who do not know, I'm Nat, and we've got Zoe here as well, my colleague, and we run Divergent Thinking. We're a social enterprise that supports people tell their story from a different perspective, focusing on different forms of communication, from video, drawing, creative, any way which allows you to express yourself to the fullest. This series is called Offbeat Activism. It's about giving people the tools they need to be able to influence change. Now, that could be from understanding what they're passionate about, from speaking about causes they care about, getting politicians to listen, or also how to unwind when you feel kind of like so tense that you're trying to change the system, but time and time it can, it's not easy, but it's possible. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce you to Zinah. Now, Zinah is a phenomenal entrepreneur. She is one of the best networkers I know. She has worked across the globe. She has been the curator of Global Shapers. She's started up her own enterprise called Let's Be Friend. She's a human rights lawyer, among probably a half a dozen other things. And I'm fortunate enough to not only call Zinah a collaborator, but also a close friend of mine, which we, funnily enough, met at international networking events. Over to you, Zinah.
Thank you so much, Nat, for the introduction. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I really appreciate the time and effort everybody is putting into to listen to me during this session today with Divergent Thinking and my friend and colleague, Nat and Zoe. As Nat has introduced me and gave you a bit of hints about who I am, I'll also give you some hints about who I am. My name is Zinah Mohammed. I am a human rights lawyer based in Iraq, Erbil. I was born in Baghdad during the Gulf War in 1991, and my life experience has been always shaped in one way or another by war and conflict in so many different ways. At the age of 12 was my very first, maybe I would consider it actually my second experience in war, because I was born during a war myself. It was the 2003 American invasion of the country, and I was in Baghdad back at the time, and lived through the whole experience in my home in Baghdad. A few years later, I had to flee to become an internally displaced person to Kurdistan region of Iraq. Luckily, I didn't have to go through the camps situation, and as many people have experienced. I was lucky to have a home, and my family were able to provide for us as much as possible, although it was very, very challenging times for us, especially as a teen. I moved to Kurdistan region when I was 15. So being a teen already is a task on itself. So let alone moving to a completely different area, different context, different language is being spoken in Kurdistan region, which is Kurdish language, for those of you who don't know. And it was just a roller coaster. I graduated from law school with honors degree for my bachelor in Erbil. And then I, before I actually graduated, I started my activism work at the age of 20. And I'm going to tell you a bit more about it as we move forward with today's session. I'm a human rights activist, advocate, a global shaper. I used to be the curator of my hub, the Global Shapers Hub, which is one of the initiatives by the World Economic Forum. The Global Shapers community is basically hubs that are in all around the world in more than 140 countries, as I remember, and more than 400 hubs globally in cities. Some countries have more than one hub. I am a professional in the humanitarian sector, and I've been working in that humanitarian sector, particularly in Iraq, for quite a few years. And my interest in law has always been with me. This is why I have decided to complete a master's in international law in the UK, actually. I know that many of our attendees today are from the UK as well. When I read through this, who am I and how many things that I've been doing along the years, sometimes I find it unbelievable, and my friends keep telling me, oh no, you actually did all of these things, and Nat is one of those people. So I was able to create many initiatives that are youth-led and youth-oriented, basically in various fields, whether it's for peace building initiatives or really just supporting my hub in some activities that are related to social change, supporting cancer patients, particularly children, trying for mental change in our community, which is a popular thing. A variety of initiatives and projects I have either led or participated in during my lifetime. How it all started, it was through Facebook, and I think I'm going to focus a lot on social media on our session today. My whole journey started with a Facebook post that really provoked me when I was 23. I had just graduated university, and I saw a post of Syrian refugees in a camp in Kurdistan region of Iraq, and that winter was a very, very cold one. And I remember that everybody was just surprised at the wave of cold that came to us back then, and I decided to do something about it. And I just wrote a post on my Facebook with my small circle, and I asked for people to support me in a small campaign to bring in blankets and warm clothes for Syrian refugees living in camps in Erbil, around Erbil. And then from that, I started to grow a bit more, and I had more ideas to create like food baskets, food items, and sometimes non-food items for refugees in the camps. These are photos that I have captured throughout the years myself. And if you look at the one on the right, there's a lot of bags full of so many items that we've provided for thousands of families through a voluntary youth initiative that I have led. Luckily, I was able to have the support of local youth who are coming from different backgrounds. So Christians, Muslims, Kurds, and Arabs all came together to support in one cause, which was supporting the Syrian refugees. And then, unfortunately, it was not just Syrian refugees, it was also Iraqi internally displaced persons, as ISIS controlled areas of Iraq as well. We had a huge amount of people coming in, from Mosul, from Anbar, from Salahuddin cities, which were controlled by ISIS, to come to camps in Kurdistan as well. So the flood of people was just astonishing, and I felt like even the organizations were unable back then to maintain all of that. It was just overwhelming. So I was doing this kind of work with my colleagues and friends. It was a wonderful experience, but at the same time a very difficult one to see this huge number of people struggling and suffering from conflicts, which is something that I have struggled from when I was younger. So I always felt some sort of connection between me and the people that I was supporting. And then I moved into the UK. I started my master's degree, and I was accepted actually in this wonderful international program for global leaders. And Nat was also a colleague of mine. And in that program, we were asked to start our own initiatives after we finished the 2 weeks program. And while I was in the UK, I asked myself, how can I do something for my country, because we were asked to do something in our own countries while I'm doing my master's degree in the UK. So I started this Let's Be Friends project, which connects children in primary schools in Iraq and in UK using art as a way of self-expression. And then we use T-shirts as a way where children can write down messages. It's like pen pal messages and ship them all the way to Iraq, vice versa as well. We have worked on this with many, many schools in the UK. And I was really happy and surprised at the amount of welcome I've received from schools who trusted me enough to create this sort of connection and to really try to break stereotypes that we always have about each other, but this time was with children. I know that as adults, sometimes we have some stereotypes about each other because of the media and how it portrays specific people. And I think that's what provoked me to start this whole thing. I remember when I was a student in the UK, I always got the same reaction from people when they meet me or I introduce myself that I am Zinah, I come from Iraq, and everybody says, no way, I'm sure you lived elsewhere, or I'm sure one of your parents is not Iraqi, and how come you're a female living alone here? How did they allow you to? Iraq is very conservative. So many stereotypes that I've received from people, and I thought to myself, wow, I mean, I'm not so special. I am just like all my other friends, and I just don't like the way people perceive us and see us. We're a lot of us, yes, do go through difficult circumstances, but a lot of us, because of the conflicts, as well as us, but that doesn't mean that we all Iraqi people are very poor, unable to get education. Women are extremely marginalized, and to an extent it does exist, but there are some wonderful women who need to be highlighted and that nobody really gets to see about. So this was why I started the project, and I will share with you this video.
91 in the Gulf War, and when I was 12 in 2003, there was a second war. Losing everything you have ever known, moving to the unknown, was very frightening. Let's Be Friends is a peace-building project that connects primary school students in the UK to their peers in Iraqi refugee camps to teach them about each other, break stereotypes, and help them find the similarities that they have. These t-shirts, you are going to send your messages to your new friend in Iraq. Your new friend in Iraq will also make the same t-shirt for you.
I did a friendship tree, then they know what kind of person I am.
I introduced them to Mohammed, living in a refugee camp in Erbil. They can see an actual child speaking about his experience. I thought there was just like homeless people, the people that try to provide for their kids to just have a normal life and get away from the war. Children can have their own assumptions and stereotypes based on the way we look or the way I sound, the way I speak. Which country do you think this girl comes from?
Sikhism? Islam.
Gives me a drive to try to educate them that people don't have to look in a specific way or sound in a specific way or act in a specific way just because of where they come from.
Probably half of us didn't even know Iraq was even a country. You might learn some stuff that you haven't known before. You will make a new friend, and they'll be making a friend as well.
I would like the kids to have a Skype call with each other, to talk to each other and see they are wearing the t-shirts that they've made for each other. That's definitely something that I want the kids to experience.
It looks like a really nice country actually. If it's over, I'd like to visit there.
My story represents millions of stories of Iraqi children. I just want the world to hear it and learn more about it. The friendships that we can build with each other can help us move forward and have a better tomorrow for everyone.
If someone here wants to battle with them and they wanted to battle with us, then we can persuade them not to fight because we would be friends. So it could help stop wars.
Oh man, that gets me every time. So that's really lovely, Zinah. And even to add to our lovely networking dialogue, people we met on our program made that video, and that was again through networking. Anyway, Zinah, back over to you.
Yes, correct. People who were with us in the program actually are the ones who supported me in creating this video. Let me get back to the... Yes, so as you saw in the video, children across the UK and Iraq got to connect with each other through simple art. You see on the right-hand side is my photo with children in a IDP, internally displaced persons camp, who received their, who were sending their t-shirts to kids in the UK, and on the left, it was kids in the UK sending their t-shirts to their new friends in Iraq. I wanted to give you a bit of background about who I am, and then I'm going to dive in a bit more about today's session's goal and about networking and creating your own campaign, momentum, etc. First of all, for me, is search for what you love. This is a photo of me that Nat has took from my Instagram account. And actually, it was also during one of the programs that I attended in Switzerland. Searching for what you love is key to make your message actually heard. People have to feel that it's actually coming from somewhere that you actually care about. If it isn't, it will be hard to convey your message to people and convince them to support your cause in any possible way. Things that you love could be anything. Just think clearly and give yourself some time to reflect on the causes that you truly care about. It doesn't really have to be about war and displacement like mine to be catchy. It could be anything, because we as individuals go through these wide experiences in our lives that affect us, and there must be something that you actually love and care about enough to campaign about or to create momentum about in your small community, and then it can grow into a larger international community. For me, war, displacement, conflict has been a part of my life since day one. And this is why you will notice that a lot of the things that I do are always rooted back to that. And I think that's one of the main causes why I was successful in many things that I've done, because it really came from the heart, and it really came from actual experiences that I've been through and people that I care about have been through as well. And then, yeah, I think that's my number one tip: search for what you love, and not what other people are expecting of you. And find your support system. This is so important. Finding the circle of people that actually see your cause as important and valuable gives you the drive to continue. Otherwise, it might be a bit hard for you to continue pushing for the cause you are seeking to advocate for. This is my photo with the Global Shapers in Jordan in a conference that we've all attended. And I found that when I joined the Global Shapers community, which is a group of wonderful young people from all around the world, I felt like I belonged somewhere, and I was able to connect with people who could actually understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it was a kind of a support system for me. And support system could be your friends, could be your family, but if not, you can find specific communities that can support that. It could be the sports team in your city. It could be even a family member. It could be anyone, someone from your local church, or from your group of friends. It could be anybody, but create the support system that understands what you're doing and also lifts you up. Because listening to you only is not what you need. You also need mindsets that are similar to you, that could actually inspire you to do better in the cause you are seeking to reach. In my case, finding my support system was not an easy one. It was hard to get people to understand why I'm doing what I was doing. Especially as a female, I think in a community like mine, females are expected to walk through a specific path. And I heard a lot of people saying to me, "Oh, you're wasting your time. Why don't you find yourself a husband instead of going to these camps?" I remember one time someone said, um, "I'm sure you're doing this because you have nothing else to do." And in fact, I was always a busy person. I always had a job to do. I've always involved in extra things, running the extra mile, and I was struggling sometimes. I always say I wish I had more than 24 hours to do all the things that I love. So these kind of things will come to you. People who will discourage you, who will try to bring you down, but try your level best to find your support system elsewhere, and don't listen to those who tell you negative thoughts and ideas about what you're doing. Like this is temporary, and stuff like that. I faced it a lot in the first few years. Up until now, sometimes I hear them, but maybe as I have matured more, I sometimes just don't hear them. Just don't hear them. As simple as that. Leveraging on social media is so important, especially in this time. And I think now with the pandemic, we all got to understand and know that social media has been key in making us connect with other people. I mean, look at us right now. We're talking to each other on Zoom, and we see people joining us from different parts of the world. It's incredible. And I think for me, social media has supported me in every single step of the way. I mean, one single post that I wrote on my Facebook, "Hey, who wants to support me in collecting blankets?" And then it just grew, and I was doing all my work on social media always. I would ask people, "Hey, who wants to donate? We're doing this thing for Ramadan, for example, where we're giving away food baskets for like 1,000 family." And then people started to contact me, and not just the ones I know, friends of friends, friends of friends of friends, and my neighbors and friends of my neighbors, and it just started to grow. And it was just social media posts that really got my whole activism work um, um, move forward. Associate yourself with a cause. As I mentioned earlier, people started to contact me who are not directly linked to me. They were connected to other people who know me. And because I associated myself with a specific cause, at the start it was donations and children. Anybody who had any idea for these causes would contact me. People who don't know me, people who know me. I think associating yourself is so important, too random. Sometimes you work on many things, and then that you don't seem to have a specific theme. It might be a little bit confusing for your audience. They will probably be confused as to what kind of help you can provide, or what kind of skill set you have in the first place. By the way, all the things I'm saying, it's not just for campaigning or charity work. You can use that for your career as well, for your career advancement. Associating yourself with a cause or associating yourself with a skill is key. Do you all hear me? Okay. Yeah. And don't be afraid to brand yourself. I think this is also something that maybe some people struggle to do. And I personally struggled to reach that point for a few years. Branding myself was sometimes difficult because I thought, oh, what if people think this is a show off? Oh, what kind of comments will I get? And I started to reflect on myself, all these negative thoughts that if I brand myself, I probably will face some challenges with people. But branding yourself is really, really important, because it makes you who you are, and it creates this circle of people who will always see you as again, related to a specific cause, a brand kind of a person. Nothing fancy, but really related to the cause that you care about. I think Nat also is one of those people. Now, every time I think of him, I immediately I remember the brand and the association of the causes that he cares about. And that's why we're here with Divergent Thinking. In my opinion, networking is everything. People might say it's the degree that is the most important, or you know, getting a good job is the most important, or getting XYZ. For me, I think networking is everything, because your network will help you beyond your thinking. You see, I use networking in every single step of my way, whether it's volunteer work, whether it's career, and it always works. But networking has to have some basis. Who can be your network? Your friends, your family as a small circle, and then your work colleagues, members of groups which you might be interested in, like sporting teams, social teams, interest-based groups, or professional associations. For example, for me, I joined so many youth initiatives until I landed myself in the Global Shapers community, where I felt like I belonged. And the sense of belonging is really supports you, inspires you, gets you to think of new ideas, because when you're surrounded by like-minded people who see what you're doing as important, and they eventually will inspire you in one way or another to grow bigger. And I will touch on that in the next slide. And also, who can be your network, online networks such as LinkedIn or Twitter, Instagram. Especially during the pandemic, I know it's very hard for us now to meet people. Many of us are experiencing lockdowns. Many of us are experiencing even Zoom fatigue. I totally relate to that. But also, online networking can be key in the growth of your network. On your LinkedIn, try to, for example, show what you're good at. And if that's hard for you to catch, ask one of your good friends or family members to sit with you and tell you from their perspective what you're good at. Because I personally had always struggled to show my skills or write about myself, how good I am in XYZ. And what helped me is to listen to those people around me, my support system. Like, hey, what do you think I'm good at? You're really good at public speaking, for example. Then, okay, I am, but I was never able to reflect that myself until someone else was telling me, but you've done this, that. That's public speaking, right? It is.
I think it's really interesting, like some of the points she's making about who can be your network. And I remember even your parents are your network, your friends, your colleague, everyone you've ever met is worth keeping in contact with. And while we come back, I think it's to say some of like my top tips from networking. It's just staying in touch with people. You know, try not to do it so calculated. Try to really push yourself and think, okay, who are these people? How can we keep them involved? I remember when I met Zinah, both our projects are completely different. I'm passionate about neurodiversity, about different ways of thinking. She's passionate about refugees and bringing people. Now, on the surface, those two subjects, they seem like polar opposites. But just because you can't see an initial link doesn't mean you shouldn't give the person the time of the day. So often someone's like, yeah, not relevant, not talking to you. No, I think bond not over causes, but over personalities. So for instance, we had a good relationship, good personalities, and then the cause will come naturally. Try not to force it. I think that's the number one mistake a lot of networkers make, is they're too strategic. They try to think who's going to benefit me in the long term, but no, always think about, do you get on? Because that good connection will go a million miles. And from there, we've just stayed in touch. Even though she's in Iraq, I'm in the UK, we're still always sharing posts, we're still championing each other. Maybe you won't know how to support each other like really early on, but eventually, and that time will come when you think, that person will be the perfect person. But try to remember also that a friendship is like a flower, you know, if you don't water it, it dies. So you can't just say, I've met that person once, and then like 10 years later, you're like, hey, Dave, fancy doing us a favor? Dave's not going to give you a favor. So you have to maintain it. So I book in, well, book sounds a bit corporate, but I at least have like a catch up once a year with everyone I know, just to kind of like touch base, see how we're all doing. That way it's more organic. It doesn't feel kind of contrived.
I was talking about who can be your network. It could be anyone, and start small, and then the next thing you know, your network will be far bigger than you've ever imagined. And I think in the networking part, I just want to highlight one very important thing. Always be yourself. Don't try to change who you are to attract people towards you. Just be who you are. Search for the cause that you really care about, or the skill that you really care about, and then things will just happen naturally for you. I want to ask all of the audience, because I really want to have you also involved with us. It's not just a one-way discussion. How would you describe your network currently? If you can draw or write down, how does your network look like now? How would you describe it? Is it like a tree that has so many branches, or a small one, or how would you describe it? Or maybe even draw it. You can draw if you have an illustration of how you imagine your network looking like.
I must say, extremely difficult to draw on this, but we're giving it a good go. Okay. So what can I see? I can see a burger, which says very limited, a flower, small, driver, medium, a jigsaw puzzle, a heart, loving.
Stair, I think this is stair.
Oh, like profits, kind of like growing over time.
Yeah.
Oh, and I see a bowl. Oh, non-existent, very supportive, yet inactive. That's a really, I have that with quite a few of mine, to be honest. Lovely, lovely group, but does go dormant a little bit after time.
I love the tree that Pastor, I hope I'm saying your name right, is making. It's a tree, quiet, small, and pretty non-existent. Hi, NG. Hibernate. Okay, random bits. Okay. Loving, very supportive, youth and active. Medium, more about friends.
Wow, this is beautifully chaotic. I love it.
I love it. I see another tree that has roots. I like this one. I don't know who drew that one, but I like the roots part.
Hibernated. I like that as well. That's very resonant with the pandemic. A lot of people have gone into hiding, just kind of hoping when this is over, we'll be able to network again. But there's definitely no reason why we can't continue even during this challenging time.
Exactly. Thank you all for a pyramid too. Thank you. That's so nice. I think the one that really caught my attention is the tree with the roots, because creating roots for your relationships and networks is key. And I think that it shouldn't be created in a way where we're networking to get something from each other, but rather we're networking to grow our circle of friendships and professional networks as well, that could also possibly be in the future something that is beneficial for both ways. It's a two-way relationship rather than a one-way relationship, I would say. I see another one. Okay. Oh, okay.
Right.
So don't underestimate your network and look closely to and go out there. If you look at this photo, you will see that how many people are connected to each other, and it grows. I'll give you an example of the one that I have done for the Be Friends project in the UK. So I was new to the country. I had known nobody except for my university colleagues and stuff like that. And I remember that I had a chat with my yoga teacher. And I was like, oh, I do this kind of work for refugees in Iraq. And it happened that my yoga teacher also likes the same work. And when I wanted to start Let's Be Friends, my yoga teacher said, why don't we do this together? Actually, I can take you to my primary school. And he was a man in his 60s. I'll take you to my primary school and I'll introduce you to the principal, and let's pilot the idea there. Can you imagine that? It's so random. It's my yoga teacher who has left his primary school like 50 years ago, but decided to take me back to his primary school and introduce me to them and connect me to them. It was so random, but it really, really, really worked out. And he became part of the team because he loved the idea so much. And then it started to grow to bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's an example. Your neighbors could be people who can be part of your network, who are also connected to people who can support your cause or your career. But again, when you're networking and you are starting to create your own brand, your own skills, just like Nat was mentioning, somebody will remember you and be like, oh, this person I know, they are branded with XYZ. I think I should just connect to him or her and work with them on something. So don't underestimate your network, even if you feel like it's non-existent at the moment. When you start, it will grow, and I will give you a bit more about how it can start. Why networking is important. It makes you noticeable. It raises your profile in an amazing way. And it also can create a chain of trust in you and the cause and the career that you're looking for and working hard for on. So imagine if I am connected to, I don't know, a manager somewhere, a manager of a school that I'm working on this project with. And just because I am connected to this manager who trusts me, this manager of the school can also connect me to another manager in another school, and thus the trust will be, transferred from one person to another. So this is what I mean by creating chains of trust through your networks, and you never know who can support you when you need it. It could be anyone. Also, when I was starting Let's Be Friends, I wanted to do this video that you watched and I sent you in the box, the chat box. And there was this company that was doing the videos for us during the program in the UK. And we just stayed in touch on Instagram and on Facebook, and they saw that I'm working on something new for children, and they wanted to do something for charity. And because they knew me, during the youth program in the UK for 2 weeks, they said, hey, let's just do this for you. We'll do it for free. And they did. They produced a whole video for me. They traveled to another city with me to film in a school, in 2 schools actually, in 2 different places, and they live in another city. because they trusted the cause. They saw that I am associated to this issue in some way or another. It is associated to my experience, and the chain of trust, because they met me in a trustable program, continued and led to them to support me. Darren and Susan, I don't know if they're with us today, but I deeply thank them. CEOs and managers shouldn't be your only target, because they are not the only ones who can support you. Especially people in managerial positions, especially if they are very high profile kind of people, they meet a lot of people who may ask them for favors, and maybe they might not pay attention to every single person that they meet. So they shouldn't be the only target. Having them in your network is amazing if you manage to, but if not, that's fine, because the simplest people in your network can actually support your cause in remarkable ways. Networking also creates new opportunities for you, and provides like creative intellect, gets new ideas and more knowledge for you. Inspiration is key. For me, the people, my network are not all working in the same area. They are working in so many different fields, and not just in the humanitarian field. So many different fields, very different, but they are mainly in one way or another are very special in what they're doing. And it took me years to get to this point where I'm having a network like that. And listening to like an engineer, or someone who's into business, or someone who's into, I don't know, any different topic than what you are, actually gives you more knowledge and inspires you in ways that you don't you might not think of, you know. So listen to other people outside your circle, and again, keep your eyes and ears open always with your networks, to understand a bit more about what kind of opportunities are out there that could be good for you, and that can inspire you to do better. Networking also grows your status and self-confidence. I think the status part is also linked to the chain of trust. Once you reach a specific status because of all the work that you've done and all the trust that you have gained over the years, eventually it will also impact your own self-confidence. You'll be able to have more ideas that are outside the box and not be afraid to express yourself. I'm seeing some chat capacity building between the networks, problem solving between the networks. Yes, trust me, I asked people for help when I was like stuck somewhere in a project or career, who are so far from my world, but they gave me a different perspective, and then I could, redefine things in my own project or initiative or job, and it supports your success. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I know that a few of my friends were resharing upon my post for today. Some of them are tagging me. Thank you for that. Your network supports your success, and I think it's important for you to also support other people's success. Supporting other people's success does not make you less successful. Actually, it makes you much more successful. So that's also very important. I'm looking at all the messages. Thank you so much, Pastor, for your participation. Asking for help is so important, Laura. Yes. We are not perfect at all. We are we're humans who are constantly learning and growing and from learning from each other. And asking for help from each other is key. So don't be afraid, or don't be shy to ask for help, to get you to understand something or to inspire you in specific areas. I'll move on into international networking now. But I wonder if anybody has any questions, any comments.
Zinah, one question that I saw that came up was, how do you manage your networks when they start to get really large?
So I think for me, in my experience, it's social media that helps me the most. And becoming part of specific groups, creating specific groups has also been helpful for me. So on my Facebook account, for example, I am part of Group X, Group Y, Group Z, who are working on different areas, but then they are a group of my networks that I know. It gets me to, when I'm interested in seeing what Group X is doing, I can just go to that group, check out what's happening, and keep that network alive. Also, when it grows a lot, I think professionally for me, LinkedIn has been a great support, because on LinkedIn, you don't get to see just the personal and private updates of someone, but also the professional updates. And for me, LinkedIn has kind of become my Facebook lately, because it's getting me to learn a lot about what other people are doing, especially during the pandemic. Before the pandemic, we were all over the place, moving around, doing so many things. But during the pandemic, I think a lot of people have started to do some work on self-reflection, some work on getting some new courses done online. Um, uh, I I have seen. Wait, I saw a message. Do you have any groups in mind for like-minded thinkers that want to share ideas and tips for people aspiring to go into international development and humanitarian work? Yes, yes, yes. Who's that? James. Sure. I have something for you that you can participate in that can also grow your network. An initiative that I actually started with a group of friends. But to answer your question, I don't know how old you are, but there are great initiatives by the World Economic Forum that you can apply for. There are voluntary positions that you can apply for in your city. If you are below the age of 30, you can join the Global Shapers community. If you're above the age of 30, there is another initiative by the World Economic Forum that can support you. And for that, I highlight the World Economic Forum a lot because it's such a huge network. It's never ending. It's even formatted in a way that's sector-based even. Once you join, you have access to specific websites. You can search for specific sectors that you are interested in. If you are a participant or in a program abroad, connect with participants online before traveling and participate in every initiative throughout your program. I know that before COVID, there was a lot of young global change makers programs where you can meet with wonderful people who are working on a variety of areas that could be similar to yours. If you do become a part of those, please connect with people ahead of time and join the lunches, join the dinners, join the walks. It will give you a lot more than you think. And take initiative. Taking initiatives is a great tool to connect with people. If there is no social events that you can find, maybe create your own. It could be as simple as a walk to the park with a group of people who are also interested in the same area that you're interested in, or are a part of a program that you are participating in. When you meet people in conferences or programs, please stay connected after returning to home, and use social media to keep you in touch. I met Nat 4 years ago. We're still very good friends. I have friends that I've met 10 years ago through programs like this. I'm still in touch with them, and social media has supported me a lot to keep in touch and know what they're doing. Branch out to new circles of people. Have a chat with someone who probably has and as long as you feel comfortable and safe, of course. This network doesn't have to continue if you don't feel comfortable to, but if you like to, it can be a great new addition to your network. Keep your eyes and ears open for opportunities. And I think today I was trying my best to give insights for youth and young people to support them, maybe have some inspiration of some sort from my experience. Keeping your eyes and ears open is so important because it will, once you get into this world of opportunities like fellowships, internships, job hunting, conferences that are relevant to your age, programs that appreciate your skills. Once you get into it, then you will find a whole chain of opportunities that are out there for you. For me, when I said I started at the age of 20, I applied for this leadership program when I was 20, and I was able to go to the US for 2 months and study in a university there, public policy actually, and I was joined by some wonderful young people from all over Iraq. It was called Iraqi Young Leaders Program. And I think the U.S. Department of State have that program in a lot of countries globally too. So try to search for the one in your own area. Once I applied and I thought that I'm not gonna get in, I did, and since then until now, I am part of this world. I'm always into one program after the other. Sometimes I'm invited to speak at events. Sometimes I'm invited to specific conferences because the hosts see added value in having me to this conference. And it's just such a great circle, and it will keep on growing. So even online now with the pandemic, I know that there are some programs. I'm going to share one that I saw online recently on my LinkedIn, which is an online leadership program for young people, which could be later a face-to-face program. In one of the experiences I've had, I attended one of the programs face-to-face before the pandemic, and then when the pandemic happened, we were asked to start up something that's related to the pandemic. So we also stayed in connection with each other online during the pandemic as well, and got to meet more people through the program. I think and your network levels you up. It helps you gain a different perspective, and your network can get you an answer to almost every question. As I think Laura said, asking for help is important. I ask my network for all sort of questions when I'm stuck somewhere that maybe I'm not an expert in, and I kind of always find answers through my networks, which is absolutely amazing. During the pandemic, me and my friends started People Inspire People, which is a way to connect inspiring people together online. We have monthly webinars, almost monthly webinars. So follow our Instagram if you want to check out our next session. And you can connect to new people online, but you can connect to wonderful and inspiring people.
Thank you all for joining so much. And I think you can all agree that Zinah has been absolutely phenomenal, incredibly inspiring, and such helpful tips. The next session we have is with Charles, who is an absolute titan of public speaking. He's based in Kenya, and he's been able to help young people tell their voice in a way which is authentic and unique to them. Definitely one of the best public speakers I've ever met. So with these skills combined, you'll be like unstoppable. And we also have a few other events coming up. But what I would say is stay in contact, attend every opportunity that you can, and you can't go far wrong.
Oh, sorry, now we have one question.
Yeah,
Does networking have MOU? What are the best points that should be mentioned?
Not really, Pastor. Not really, not an MOU. You, as I mentioned earlier, be yourself as a start. And now, because it's a pandemic, the best points that you should focus on, maybe through your LinkedIn account, create it in a way that showcases your skills, what you're doing, what you're passionate about, even if it's through your own posts, even if you haven't started initiatives yourself. And then try to find people within that area of expertise. LinkedIn is such a wonderful tool. There's so many things in it that can help you find people in the same area that you are interested in. And if you have some more specific questions about programs, fellowships, that kind of things.
What I like to do, super cheesy, but I'm going to ask you all to unmute now. And if you could just give a massive round of applause to Zinah for being amazing. Honestly, having you is so invaluable, and it's a relationship that I hope we continue for many, many years to come.
I'm sure. Nat. Thank you for inviting me.
No worries. Well, thanks all, and hopefully see you at the next one. Hope you enjoy your Saturday.